are we broadcasting?
Yes.
It was so nice.
According to somebody that's asked, they said we weren't.
No, we're on broadcast, and this meeting is, what kind of meeting you call it? A
Working session,
A
for
working
budget
session.
working session
is to talk about the budget
for 2018.
for 2018.
The numbers that I have put before you are brand new as of about 5 o'clock this evening. I guess maybe I'll give a recap. Our June valuation numbers from the county said that our city valuation increased, and I don't have those numbers in front of me, approximately $5.5 million, our total valuation increase. However, it was indicated that 6.7 million of that was due to a valuation increase for CRNF. And we were told to expect them to appeal that decision.
Can we, basic terms, CRNF refinery, right? That's, CRNF is the refinery.
It's the nitrogen fertilizer piece of the refinery. Part of it's in the county, part of it's in the city. They're very different in that regards.
Okay, so the part that we're talking about is a nitrogen fertilizer.
Nitrogen fertilizer.
Right.
Okay, all right.
And we talked about, in our meeting, we talked about putting that money aside.
Correct.
Part of it.
You know, we met a week ago Tuesday, a week ago today,
Yep.
for a budget session. We presented, based on our May pre-budget meeting, we presented a budget that basically did not raise the mill. The new state tax lid that's in effect allows for municipalities to raise the mill levy, or raise, and it's complicated. Mill levy is not the same thing. It's to levy taxes equal to a 5-year average of the consumer price index, which this year has been set at 1.4%. So we can levy 1.4% more in revenues over last year without taking it to the vote of the people. Anything over that amount must go to the vote of the people. Again, when we met in May, you told us to bring back a budget that stayed within that 1.4% allotment of the tax lid, which we did. However, that did include utilizing the additional funds that were received from the increased valuation over last year. You were not comfortable doing that. You wanted to set portion of that money aside to repay in case an appeal was heard and we were asked to repay that money. So after that meeting, and actually, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe you said you would like to hold back 70% of that increase, that we would be able to use 30% of that increase to figure a new budget.
That's correct.
Not everybody, but that was the consensus.
Okay, that was the consensus. Which staff and I began to work on. However, then Friday, we were notified by the county that they were putting back CRNF's valuation back to the 2016 level. We would not receive any additional funding this year for that. And then, so the net result for the city was a $1.2 million decrease in valuation over 2016.
Okay, so this
That's where we are today.
Yeah.
That's, well,
Which one of these options allows us to operate the city exactly as it is today? Like maintain what we're doing right
the
now?
option that says the base, the very first option, levies exactly the same amount of money as we did last year.
But even though our valuations went down,
Our valuation went down, but that meant to levy the exact same amount of money as we did last year would require a 1.828 mil increase. That gets us to the exact same monies that we levied last
and
year.
that's what the no cuts means.
Right, essentially, yes.
And if we don't raise 1.82 mils, that equals out to what do you say, 47,000 a mil, basically?
About 49,000 a mil.
So you're looking at $85,000 there or so that'll be cut somewhere in the city? Well, that if we don't use reserves or something.
Yes. However, I'd like to keep in mind, option one that is listed is the amount that the tax lid would allow us to raise the 1.4%, that 5-year rolling average of the CPI, without taking it to the vote of the people. And that would be 2.770 mils, which equates to $45,517. So,
How much, you said the other day that the sales tax revenues were down. How much are they down compared to last year?
currently it's about 4.5% from this time last year.
And then
Now-
that's something, you know, the public needs to know, and I'm sure, you know, that's the kind of thing one reason I wanna go, you know, let
We put
everybody
those,
hear.
we put those stats out every month they're released.
Okay.
Now, as you look through these options that I presented, like I said, the base is just getting us to levy the exact same amount as we did last year. Although it, in my mind, is not good governance, the tax lid forces your hand in some instances. For us to not levy the allowed 1.4% would just not be wise.
No, I agree.
I know the state's legislature, their intent was to make us more accountable. But if you don't take what they give you, then you've put yourself behind the next year, because next year's tax lid will be roughly, just based off, you know, doing some calculations with the CPI, it's gonna be roughly the same, 1.2 to 1.4%. Now, those options, I mean, really, option number 4 is gonna allow us to do many of the things that we wanted to, everything that we wanted to do. And you can see that that's 7.75 mils less than option number 1. But I still believe that option 1 is really the option we should take. It will allow us to add a little bit to our reserves.
I'm with you. I think that's the option. From what I know about it, that's the option we need. But it's not, take option 1 and add option 3 to it.
No,
It's option 1, 2, 3, or 4.
Honestly, option 1, if you look there, option 1 levies the most additional tax monies. So every option that I have outlined here fits underneath option 1.
Right. I understand.
Yeah.
I got it now. Well, I think that's what I'm right now, unless somebody changes my mind here amongst conversation.
you know,
I'm
then,
with, and what do you think?
then we have some decisions, you know, to be made with those monies underneath, you know, once we've
So
kinda
if
set.
we, tell me, can I see your pen?
Sure.
You know, I brought a pen and I don't know
I
where.
know,
it
I'm
went
losing here too for some reason.
to. Could you explain to us, please, what is behind option behind door number one, behind option number one? Obviously, in our budget session that we had before, it outlined, certain things that we wanted to do, certain
Right.
things that we anticipated would see.
Some of our priorities, yeah.
Number one, what are our priorities under this option? Number two, what are the things, what are the hits that we're gonna take to try to fit within these guidelines?
We can accomplish everything we want to do with option one, all those priorities we discussed. And it depends to what level you'd like to do them. You know, my original recommendation was a 2% cost of living adjustment based on the CPI. But when we took a hit in valuation and revenues were reduced, we automatically reduced it 1% that night. But then when we took another even more drastic hit a couple of days later, then we wiped that option out completely.
So where's
we-
the, just on that topic there, where is the raises on that in option one?
Um,
1, 2, none?
It could be any of those options. It could be up to 2%. I mean, we're still levying more money at 2 than we are for option 3, which is a 2% raise.
Okay.
But also, some of the things that we cut was, we reduced funding to a position in public service. We were using funds, those additional funds to hire additional summer help to stay on top of mowing, particularly in the cemeteries. We had to cut back that. This will allow us to restore that, to fully fund that. I'd already spoken with Chief Bromley. We had budgeted a new position for 2018 in the police department. We had removed that. And those were a couple of the main things that we did to try to make the balanced budget, or the budget balance. However, a piece of new information we received today has brought forth these options, which are different than what I gave you on Friday.
Right.
We have been in contact with Atmos about our gas franchise fees, and I had alluded last week that we would hopefully know some more information about payments we were to receive this year. We had budgeted revenues, but we were notified today that those revenues were going to be exceeded by, Stephanie, help me real quick, 100,000? 150,000 this year, additional revenues. So obviously that puts our unencumbered balances moving forward a little bit better.
Right.
So reduced our need. But we also had received notification that the percentage on the franchise fee, and it's not the entire franchise fee, it's for large consumption, was going to raise about 0.3% for next year. Adjusting those revenues and expected revenues has allowed us to bring forth these options.
Okay.
Which are better than we talked about.
So if
Absolutely, far better than we
If
talked
we
about.
don't give raises, would we have enough money to give the PD their person?
You can, in option 4, let me explain that a little bit more. It says with PD at 25%. We have applied for a COPS, is it COPS Now grant or a COPS grant? COPS More grant, which would fund one officer would fund 75% of one officer for 3 years. So when I say we budgeted for them at 25% in this option, that would require, that would be us obtaining that grant. But option one would allow us to, like I say, do any of those priorities that we had discussed.
And option one's raising going up 2.77 mils.
It is giving us the max allowed under
Right.
the tax lid without using any of the exemptions. Also, there are exemptions that exist for additional funding for emergency services and debt service. We're not using any of those exemptions. This is strictly the 1.4% 5-year average of the CPI.
And it's a little over half the raise we did last year, and right at half the year before,
Correct.
Roughly, yes.
so.
And again,
I mean, the other day, we were looking at having to go up 4 or 5 mils,
right.
Right.
and things have changed, so this is good.
Well, and even the numbers that I sent you on Friday were under 4 mils. But yeah, this is good. Again, like I said, in my way of thinking, the tax lid is not good governance. But we definitely hurt ourselves if we don't take the allotment that they allow us.
Okay. Well, what do you guys think? Any more comments?
Nope.
I think I'm ready to proceed with option.
I am
What was the
too.
problem with 4 again?
Pardon me?
What was the problem with doing 4?
There is no problem with doing 4 other than it does not levy the maximum that the tax lid allows.
I just hate, I mean, these cops have, this police department, has taken a huge hit, and I hate to keep on doing this thing.
We're not doing anything to them. We will fund that additional
Just
position.
25%.
And
But-
option one will be funded though, right? Or will it not be funded?
It
Well,
it
they
would
could-
be, it would be
right?
funded.
And all these options, do they get a
Yes.
extra police officer?
Yes,
In every one of these options?
right.
Okay.
When I say 25% is, we have budgeted in this regard to allow for if we receive the grant.
If.
Right.
Is this grant
But-
gonna be like the one for the truck? for the
But option
fire truck,
one,
or-
option one allows more money towards that, so we wouldn't need to fund them at 20. We'd fund them with or without the grant.
So is this grant gonna be like the fire truck where?
I can't speak to that. I don't know, and I can't guarantee that we get it. Chief Bromley's here. He could probably speak to it a little bit better. But
The other thing is it doesn't matter if you get 50 grants, you gotta find people who are
Willing
That's
to
very
do
true.
it.
acceptable candidates to fill the
Yeah.
That's
position.
true, but
And that seems to be our problem now, is we can't find suitable candidates to fill the position, right?
come on. Option 1 seems.
I'll approach. That has been a problem. Currently, right now, we have one candidate that has completed the background process successfully. We have four now that have just started the background process. And so I can't speak as to where they will be at the end of this process. But right now, we're currently down 4 police officers plus 1 on active duty deployment. So we're short 5 officers right now.
Yeah, 4 people
Hey,
But we have been,
in the process.
the city staff and I have been continually trying to fill those positions.
does that include retirements?
Sir?
Does that include retirements?
And
And-
Thank you. Guess option one's,
I'd go for 1. We're thinking, we're talking out loud here, yeah, 1.
Chris, you get
I'm
one?
good, 1.
Option one?
we'll proceed in that regard, and we can outline details, a little bit better. But
I said it's a major improvement over what we saw Friday, and it's a huge improvement over what we were looking at a week ago.
Absolutely.
So, I mean, it's half of what we were looking at a week ago, and it's
Right,
still a
right.
considerable decrease from Friday, so.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, well, there's your direction.
All right,
Is that in this?
I believe so.
Okay.
Unless you have other questions, yeah.
I don't have any further. I move that we adjourn the work session.
Agreed.
Second.